Plasma rounds shredded through the defensive line, and Lieutenant Kara Bennett watched 3 of her squad mates vaporize in blue fire. The Zarathian assault mechs advanced through the smoke, 12 feet tall, armored in composite plating that laughed at human weapons. Her rifle clicked empty. She dropped behind a concrete barrier as another volley turned the air to superheated death. "Fall back!" Sergeant Hayes screamed into the comm, but there was nowhere left to go. The evacuation zone was 200 meters behind them, packed with civilians who couldn't run fast enough. The mechs would cut through them like wheat. Kara's hands shook as she slapped in her last magazine. 15 rounds against war machines designed to crack bunkers. The math was brutal and simple. They were dead. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Wrong rhythm for a mech. A man walked past her position, moving toward the enemy line. No armor. No weapon. Just combat fatigues and bare hands. He was massive. Easily 6'8", shoulders like a loading dock. Dark hair, square jaw, eyes that looked carved from stone. "Get down!" Carr shouted. "You'll be killed!" He didn't even glance at her. Just kept walking. Steady, calm. Like he was going to get coffee instead of facing alien death machines. The lead mech spotted him. Its targeting laser painted his chest. The weapon pod cycled, plasma coils glowing white-hot. Kara wanted to look away. Wanted to not see another person die today. The mech fired. The man moved. Not dodged. Moved. His hand came up and caught the plasma bolt mid-flight, fingers closing around pure energy like it was a baseball. He held it for half a second, the air around his fist rippling with heat distortion. Then he crushed it. The bolt collapsed into sparks and dissipated. Kara's breath stopped in her throat. The man reached the mech in 3 more strides. It tried to back up, servos whining. Too slow. He grabbed the edge of its chest plate with both hands. The composite armor groaned. Impossible. That metal could take anti-tank rounds. He pulled. The chest plate screamed, metal tearing, rivets exploding like gunshots. He ripped the armor open like tinfoil, exposing the mech's core systems. Reached inside. Grabbed something vital, yanked it out in a shower of sparks and hydraulic fluid. The mech collapsed. The other 11 mechs opened fire simultaneously. The man disappeared in a hurricane of plasma. The ground where he stood turned to glass. When the barrage stopped, he was still there, standing in a crater, smoke rising from his shoulders. Not a scratch on him. He looked at the remaining mechs, then he smiled. Kara gasped as she watched him charge into their formation, and the real fighting began. The second mech didn't have time to recalibrate. The man was already on it, moving faster than anything human-sized had a right to move. He leapt, clearing 15 feet straight up, and came down on the mech's shoulder. His fist drove through the armored plating like a meteor through cardboard. Sparks erupted. The pilot inside screamed over the external speakers. The man grabbed the mech's head assembly and twisted. Metal shrieked. The entire top section rotated 180 degrees, then tore free. He dropped it, jumped to the next target. Kara scrambled to her feet, rifle forgotten. Hayes was beside her, mouth hanging open. "What is he?" Hayes whispered. "I don't know," Kara said, "but he's on our side." The Zarathian mechs tried to coordinate. 3 of them formed a firing triangle, overlapping fields of fire designed to eliminate any target through sheer volume. They unleashed everything. Plasma, railgun rounds, micro-missiles. The area became a kill zone that would have erased a tank battalion. The man walked through it. Rounds that should have punched through steel bounced off his skin. Plasma washed over him like summer rain. A missile hit him square in the chest and detonated. The explosion cleared. He was still coming, not even slowed. He reached the closest mech and punched it. Once. His fist went through the frontal armor, through the cockpit, through the rear plating. The whole machine folded around the impact point, collapsing inward like crushed aluminum. He pulled his arm free and let the wreckage fall. 4 mechs down, 8 to go. The remaining Zarathians changed tactics. They scattered, trying to flank him from multiple angles. Smart, standard doctrine against a superior, single combatant. Kara had seen it work against enhanced soldiers before. The man didn't care about tactics. He grabbed the leg of a mech trying to circle behind him, lifted it. The entire 12-foot, 8-ton war machine came off the ground. He swung it like a club into two others. The impact sounded like a car crash. All three mechs went down in a tangle of twisted metal and sparking systems. 7 left. One of them got smart and went for the civilians. Started moving toward the evacuation zone, weapons priming, trying to force the man to choose between fighting and protecting. Bad choice. The man bent down and grabbed a chunk of rubble. Concrete and rebar, maybe 300 pounds. He threw it. Not like a person throws. Like a railgun fires. The projectile covered 200 meters in under a second and hit the fleeing mech in the back. The impact drove the machine face first into the ground. Armor crumpling, systems failing. 6 left, and they were breaking formation, running. The man didn't let him. He caught the nearest 1 in 5 strides, grabbed its weapon arm, and pulled. The arm tore free at the shoulder joint, hydraulics spraying. He reversed grip and used the severed limb as a bat, smashing it into another mech's knee. The mech toppled. Kara realized she was watching the end of Zarathian dominance in this sector. These mechs had been unstoppable for 3 months. They'd shattered 6 defensive lines, killed thousands of soldiers, pushed humanity to the edge of evacuation. One man was ending that, in minutes. He grabbed another mech by the torso and squeezed. The armor buckled inward. Warning alarms blared. The pilot ejected, his escape pod rocketing skyward. The man let the crushed chassis drop and moved to the next target. 3 mechs remained. They stood frozen, weapons tracking the man but not firing. Kara could almost feel their pilot's terror through the machines. The man stopped, looked at them, waited. 1 mech fired. Desperation shot. Wild. The plasma bolt went wide by 10 feet. The man blurred. Actually, blurred. He covered the distance to that mech before Kara could blink. His hand went through its chest. He pulled out the power core, crushed it, dropped it. The mech went dark and collapsed. The last 2 mechs turned and ran, full sprint. 30 miles per hour, their hydraulics screaming. The man let them go, watched them disappear into the ruined cityscape. Then he turned and walked back toward the human lines, calm, steady, like nothing had happened. He stopped in front of Kara. Up close, he was even bigger. His eyes were blue, normal eyes, human eyes. But what was behind them wasn't normal at all. Perimeter's clear, he said, then. His voice was rough, deep. Get your people out. Who are you? Kara managed. He smiled slightly, tired. Name's Connor Wade, and I'm just getting started. Then he walked past her, toward the city center where the sounds of more fighting echoed. Hayes grabbed Kara's shoulder. Did that just happen? Kara nodded slowly. Get command on the line. Tell them we have a new asset in play. And tell them the Zarathians are about to have a very bad day. The command center was chaos. General Laura Price stood over a tactical display that showed 30 Zathian positions scattered across the city. Each position had been considered a death trap 20 minutes ago. Now 17 of them were going dark. Update, Price snapped. Captain Derek Shaw worked his console frantically. Position Gamma 7 just went offline. Same pattern. Single human signature enters the zone. Massive energy spikes, then nothing but wreckage. Single signature? Price leaned over the display. Confirm that. Confirmed. 1 man. Moving through their lines like a wrecking ball. Thermal imaging shows he's not even using weapons. Price pulled up the satellite feed. The image quality was poor. Smoke and interference making details fuzzy, but she could see enough. A figure moving between Zarathian armor columns. Wherever he went, machines died. Get me visual confirmation. I want eyes on this soldier. General, we have Lieutenant Bennett on emergency channel. She says she witnessed the asset firsthand. Price grabbed the comm. Bennett, report. Kara's voice came through, shaky but clear. General, he walked through plasma fire like it was rain, tore apart assault mechs with his bare hands. Called himself Connor Wade. No equipment, no backup, just raw strength. I've never seen anything like it. Is he augmented? Powered armor? Negative on both? No tech signature at all. He's just built different. Price felt ice in her stomach. She'd been briefed on classified programs. Experimental soldiers, genetic modifications. None of them were supposed to be this effective. Did he indicate allegiance? He helped us, ma'am. Saved 200 civilians and what's left of my squad. Then headed toward downtown where the fighting's heaviest. Downtown, where Command had written off 6 battalions as lost causes. Where the Zarathians had established their main staging area behind defensive positions nobody could crack. Price made a decision. All units, stand by for new tactical priority. We have an asset in play. Designation Connor Wade. All forces are to provide support but maintain distance. Do not interfere with his operations. Shaw looked up from his console. General, Sector 4 reports the asset just hit their command post. 3 heavy walkers down in under a minute. The display updated. Another position went dark. Price watched the dots disappear one by one. Whatever Connor Wade was, he was winning a battle that had been considered unwinnable. Across the city, Connor reached the Zarathian headquarters. The building was a fortress. Converted skyscraper, reinforced with alien metals, bristling with defensive turrets and shield generators. 50 mechs patrolled the perimeter. Command had estimated it would take a full division and air support to crack it. Connor walked up to the front entrance. The turrets opened fire immediately. Thousands of rounds per second, tungsten penetrators designed to shred tank armor. They hit Connor like a metal storm, his clothes shredded. The impacts left small marks on his skin that faded in seconds. He kept walking. The mechs formed a wall. Weapons charged. An officer's voice boomed from speakers, speaking in translated Zarathian. Identify yourself or be destroyed. Connor stopped 10 feet from the wall, rolled his shoulders. I'm the guy who's going to walk through you. Move or don't. Your choice. They chose to fire. The barrage was apocalyptic. Every weapon on every mech. Simultaneous discharge. The ground vaporized. The air turned to fire. The overpressure shattered windows 3 blocks away. When the smoke cleared, Connor stood in a crater. His boots were gone. His pants were mostly gone. But he was whole, untouched, and very annoyed. Wrong choice, he said. He moved. The first mech lost its head. Connor's uppercut took it clean off, sent it spiraling into the air like a grotesque frisbee. The second mech swung a blade arm. Connor caught it, snapped it off, stabbed it through the mech's own cockpit. The defensive line collapsed into chaos. Mechs tried to retreat, regroup, coordinate. Impossible. Connor was everywhere. A mech would turn to track him and find him already behind it, hands buried in its power systems. Another would fire and hit its own allies because Connor moved faster than targeting computers could track. He grabbed one mech by the ankle, lifted it, used it to sweep 4 others off their feet, dropped it on a 5th. The pile of wreckage sparked and smoked. A heavy walker emerged from the building, twice the size of the assault mechs, with quad-barreled plasma cannons and armor thick enough to laugh at orbital strikes. It was the Zarathians' answer to human artillery. Connor smiled. The walker fired all 4 cannons. The plasma was so dense it turned the air solid white. The heat flash blinded every sensor in a 3-block radius. Connor walked through the beam. Actually walked through concentrated plasma that could melt battleship armor. He reached the walker, jumped, caught its main gun barrel, pulled himself up, punched through the turret housing. Inside he found the power coupling. Ripped it out. The walker's system screamed warnings. Critical failure. Core breach imminent. Connor jumped clear as the walker exploded. The blast took out 6 more mechs caught in the radius. He landed on his feet, brushed debris off his shoulders, and walked into the building. The Zarathian commander inside watched his monitors die one by one, watched his forces evaporate, watched death walk through his front door. He reached for the comm to call for orbital support. Connor's hand crushed the console before the transmission went through. Let's talk, Connor said, about how you're leaving this planet. The Zarathian commander was 7 feet tall, scaled skin like burnished copper, forearms ending in claws that could gut a human in one swipe. He'd personally killed 16 soldiers in ground combat. He was a decorated warrior from a species that had conquered 40 star systems. He looked at Connor Wade and felt fear for the first time in his life. "You cannot be," the commander hissed in broken English. "No human survives what you survived." Connor stepped closer. The floor cracked under his weight. "I'm not here to discuss biology. I'm here to give you a chance." "A chance?" The commander's upper arms reached for weapons mounted on his armor. Connor moved, faster than the alien's eyes could track. The weapons clattered to the floor, torn free. The commander's armor followed. Chestplate ripped away like paper. Connor held it up, then crushed it into a ball of scrap metal. Dropped it. "A chance to leave," Connor said. "Take your forces. Get off Earth. Don't come back." The commander's mandibles clicked rapidly. Confusion. "You offer mercy? After we have killed thousands of your kind?" "Not mercy. Practicality. You can leave on your ships, or I can dismantle every mech, every walker, every piece of equipment you brought here, and you can walk home. Your choice. Make it fast." The commander's claws flexed. Pride warred with survival instinct. "The Dominion does not retreat. We do not surrender to primitives." Connor sighed. Wrong answer. He grabbed the commander by the throat, lifted him off the ground with one hand. The alien weighed 400 pounds. Connor held him like he was made of air. "Here's what happens next. I walk through every position you have on this planet. Every base, every outpost, every ship that doesn't lift off in the next hour. And I turn them all into scrap. Your soldiers can run, or they can die. I don't care which." He squeezed slightly. The commander's eyes bulged. "But if you make me do that, if you waste my time, I'm going to get angry. And when I get angry, I stop being reasonable. I start making examples. Understand?" The commander managed a nod. Connor dropped him. 1 hour. Spread the word. He turned and walked out, leaving the commander gasping on the floor. Back at command, Price watched the satellite feeds in disbelief. Zarathian positions were evacuating, mechs retreating to landing zones, troop carriers lifting off in panicked clusters. "They're running," Shaw said. "All of them. Across every continent. Full retreat." "What did he do?" Price whispered. Her answer came 20 minutes later when Connor walked into the command center. He'd found new clothes somewhere. Civilian jacket, work pants, boots. He looked like a dock worker, not a one-man army. Every soldier in the room went silent. Price stepped forward. "Mr. Wade, I'm General Price. I think we need to talk." Connor nodded. "Probably. But later. Right now I need to make sure they actually leave. The Zarathians are evacuating. You accomplished in an hour what we couldn't do in 3 months. How?" Connor shrugged. "I asked nicely, showed them the alternative. They're not stupid. What are you?" Price couldn't help asking. "No human can do what you did." "I'm human," Connor said quietly. "Just optimized. There are others like me. Not many, but enough. We've been waiting for the right moment to step in." "Waiting? While we died?" Connor's expression hardened. "We were making sure humanity could stand on its own. That you'd fight. You did. You held the line long enough for us to be sure. Now we finish this." Shaw's console beeped urgently. "General, we have a problem. Zarathian flagship is moving into orbital position." Weapons charging. They're preparing to glass the city. Connor's jaw tightened. "They really don't learn." Price grabbed his arm. Felt muscle like steel cable. "You can't reach orbit. Even you can't fly." "Don't need to fly. I need a shuttle. The fastest thing we have is an atmospheric interceptor. It's not rated for space. It'll get me close enough." Connor was already moving toward the door. Price made a decision. "Shaw, prep Interceptor 7, full fuel load. Route him to Bay 3. "General, that's insane. Do it." 5 minutes later, Connor sat in a cockpit designed for high-altitude combat, not space travel. The pilot, a young woman named Kelly Hughes, stared at him from the ground crew position. "Sir, this bird tops out at 80,000 feet. The flagship is at 200 miles. You'll die." Connor checked the controls. "I'll manage. Get me as high as you can, point me at the target, eject, and let the shuttle fall back. I'll handle the rest." Handle how, he smiled, creatively. The interceptor launched. Rockets screamed. G-forces that would have killed a normal human pressed Connor into the sea. He barely noticed. The altitude counter-climbed. 60,000 feet. 70. 80. The cockpit started freezing. Air too thin to breathe. Connor held his breath. 90,000 feet. The interceptor shuddered, hull groaning. Not designed for this. Kelly's voice crackled over the radio. Max altitude, you need to turn back. Angle me at the flagship and punch it, Connor said. You'll burn up on re-entry if you survive at all. Trust me. Kelly angled the nose up. Fired the emergency boosters. The interceptor rocketed higher. 100,000 feet. Atmospheric flight became ballistic trajectory. The engines flamed out. The shuttle was falling upward on momentum alone. Connor popped the canopy, unstrapped. The cold hit like a hammer. -60 degrees. No oxygen. Radiation bombardment. He jumped. For 30 seconds he flew. Actually flew, momentum carrying him up through the last wisps of atmosphere into hard vacuum. His body screamed at him. Pressure differential trying to explode his cells. Temperature extremes that would freeze water solid. He ignored it all. The flagship loomed ahead, 2 miles long. Armored in materials humanity couldn't reproduce. Weapons capable of cracking continents. Connor grabbed onto the hull as he made contact, found a handhold, pulled himself along the surface toward the main weapons array. Inside the flagship, alarm screamed. Hull breach. Impossible. They were in space. Nothing could breach them in space without heavy weapons. Connor found the main plasma cannon. Massive. Built into the ship's superstructure. He grabbed at the barrel housing, pulled. Metal screamed. Even in vacuum, the vibration carried through the hull. He tore the cannon free, ripped out the power feeds, sent it spinning into space, moved to the next weapon. The Zarathian crew panicked, started emergency burn to escape orbit. Too slow. Connor was already dismantling their offensive capabilities. Cannon after cannon, missile pod after pod, tearing them away like weeds from a garden. He reached the bridge viewport, looked inside, made eye contact with the ship commander, pointed down at Earth, made a clear gesture, leave. The commander gave the order, full retreat. Jump coordinates laid in. The fleet began emergency warp procedures. Connor pushed off the hull, let himself fall. 200 miles down. Terminal velocity in seconds. His body began to heat from atmospheric friction. Then burn. Then ignite. He hit the ocean 20 miles offshore like a meteor. The impact sent a plume of water 300 feet high, triggered seismic sensors across the coast. He sank to the bottom, 400 feet down, walked along the ocean floor until he found the shore. Climbed out onto the beach as the sun rose. Kara was waiting there with a squad. She'd somehow known where he'd land. You're insane, she said. Connor wrung water out of his jacket. Maybe, but they're gone. Above them, the last Zarathian ships disappeared into warp. Earth was free. The debriefing room was designed to hold 20 people. It currently held 40, all of them wanting answers. Price sat at the head of the table. Connor stood by the window, watching reconstruction crews work on the damaged city. We need to know what you are, Price said. Not a request. A demand. The public is calling you everything from alien to angel. Military intelligence has 18 different theories. Give me the truth. Connor turned from the window. You want the full story, or the version that helps you sleep? The truth. Connor pulled out a chair, sat down. 40 years ago, a research team found something in the Marianas Trench. Not alien. Human. Ancient human. DNA samples that shouldn't exist. Genetic markers that were optimized beyond anything natural selection could produce. Someone or something modified our ancestors. We don't know who or why. The room went silent. The researchers tried to replicate it. Took 30 years and 300 failures. I was success number 1. There are 17 others. We're what humans were supposed to become before something stopped the process. Shaw leaned forward. You're saying we were designed? I'm saying we were upgraded and then abandoned. The project that created us tried to finish what was started. We're stronger, faster, more durable. We heal from almost anything. We don't age normally. And we've been watching humanity to see if you deserved the upgrade. Price felt anger rising. You watched us die. For 3 months we lost cities, lost millions, and you watched. Connor's expression didn't change. We watched you fight, watched you hold the line when any sane species would have run, watched you protect civilians when you could barely protect yourselves. You earned our help. You proved you were worth saving. That's not your call to make. It absolutely was. Connor stood. You think the Zrathians are the only threat out there? They're small time. There are things in this galaxy that make them look like children playing with toys. Humanity needed to prove it could stand before we revealed ourselves. Otherwise, you'd become dependent, weak, pets instead of partners. Kara spoke up from her position by the door. What happens now? Now we prepare. The Zrathians will report what happened here. Word will spread that Earth has enhanced defenders. Some species will avoid us. Others will want to test us. And a few will see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated before we get stronger. Price absorbed that. You're saying this was just the beginning. The Zorathians were a test run. The real challenges start now. A junior officer burst into the room. General, we have multiple warp signatures appearing in lunar orbit. 20 ships. Configuration unknown. They're hailing us. Everyone moved to the communications center. The main screen flickered to life. The face that appeared was humanoid but wrong. Skin like brushed metal. Eyes that glowed faintly blue. When it spoke, the voice was layered with harmonics. Greetings, Earth. I am Designate Chiron of the Accord. We represent the governing body of this galactic sector. We have observed your conflict with the Zrathian Dominion. We have observed your asset. We have questions. Price glanced at Connor. He nodded slightly. She activated her microphone. This is General Lar Price, Unified Earth Defense Command. What kind of questions? The kind that determine whether your species receives protection under Accord law or is classified as a potential hazard requiring containment. The threat was clear. Connor stepped into camera view. Chiron's glowing eyes widened slightly. You have enhanced soldiers. Genetic modifications beyond standard parameters. This is concerning. Connor crossed his arms. We're not modified. We're restored. There's a difference. Irrelevant. The Accord maintains strict regulations on augmented species. Your combat capabilities exceed approved thresholds. We require your enhanced individuals to submit to evaluation and possible limitation protocols. That's not happening, Connor said flatly. Then we must assume hostile intent. Your planet will be quarantined until compliance is achieved. Resistance will result in sanctions. Continued resistance will result in enforcement action. Price felt the situation spiraling. They'd just escaped one invasion. Now they faced another, this time from beings claiming legal authority. We're willing to discuss terms, but we won't submit to limitation of our defensive capabilities. Defensive? Chiron's metallic features showed something like amusement. Your asset destroyed a Zorathian occupation force single-handedly. That exceeds defensive parameters. That is offensive capability of the highest order. Connor stepped closer to the screen. You want to know what we're capable of? Fine. Come down here. Send your evaluators, your enforcement teams, your containment specialists. See what happens when you try to limit us. So good. You threaten the Accord? I'm stating facts. Humans don't submit. We don't kneel. We survived on a death world for 200,000 years. We built civilization from scratch. We held off the Zrathians with primitive weapons and sheer determination. You think we're gonna let you put chains on us now that we're finally reaching our potential? Chiron was silent for a moment. Then his expression shifted. Something like respect. You have spirit. Admirable but insufficient. The Accord has maintained galactic peace for 3,000 years. We have protocols, standards, laws that prevent chaos. Then your laws need updating, Price interjected. Earth didn't ask to be invaded. We didn't start this fight. We finished it. If your Accord has a problem with species defending themselves effectively, then maybe your system is broken. Another face appeared on the screen. Female. Same metallic skin but different features. Softer. I am designate Lyra. I would speak with the enhanced human privately. Connor raised an eyebrow. Why? Because I believe there is context the Accord needs to understand. Context that changes the nature of this conversation. Price looked at Connor. He shrugged. Put her through to a private channel. Let's see what she wants. The connection shifted. Just Connor and Lyra on a secured line. The others watched from outside the frame. Lyra leaned forward. You said you were restored, not modified. Explain, Connor told her. The ancient DNA, the markers, the abandoned upgrade project. Lyra listened without interrupting. When he finished, her glowing eyes were wide. The precursor markers. We thought they were extinct. Lost when the precursors vanished. Precursors? The species that seeded the galaxy with life. They uplifted dozens of races before they disappeared. 3 million years ago. They left genetic signatures in certain species, potential waiting to be unlocked. We thought humanity didn't carry the markers. We were wrong. Connor processed that. You're saying humans were one of their projects? Saying? No. Confirming. Your species carries dormant precursor code. You've activated it. That changes everything. How? Lyra's expression became serious. Because precursor-marked species are exempt from Accord limitations. They're classified as inheritor races. Protected, supported, given autonomy to develop as they choose. If Earth carries active precursor markers, the Accord doesn't govern you. You govern yourselves. Connor felt something shift. What's the catch? The catch is that inheritor races are expected to eventually join galactic society as leaders, not members. You'll have responsibilities, obligations, and you'll have enemies. Species that resent precursor favoritism. Organizations that hunt for precursor technology. Factions that would rather see inheritor races extinct than ascendant. So we trade one set of problems for another. Yes, but you trade from a position of strength. The Accord will recognize Earth's sovereignty. We'll provide technological exchange, not oversight. Trade opportunities, not restrictions. But you'll need to stand on your own. Defend yourselves. Prove you're worthy of the legacy you carry. Connor smiled slightly. We're good at standing on our own. 6 months later, Kara stood on the observation deck of humanity's first orbital defense station. Below, Earth gleamed blue and green. Above, the stars beckoned with promise and threat in equal measure. Connor joined her at the viewport. He'd been training new candidates, volunteers who wanted to undergo the activation process. Success rate was climbing, 50% now. 23 new enhanced humans walked Earth's surface. Feeling philosophical? Connor asked. Kara smiled. Feeling grateful. 6 months ago, I thought we were finished. Now we have treaties with 4 species, trade agreements with 6 more, and a seat at the galactic table. Don't forget the enemies. 3 assassination attempts on you personally. 2 sabotage operations against our shipyards. 1 biological weapon intercepted before deployment. Kara shook her head. Yeah, we made some people nervous. Connor watched a human frigate glide past the station. New design. Fusion drives, energy shields, weapons that could crack asteroids, built in 3 months, with Accord technical assistance and human engineering innovation. They should be nervous. We went from barely surviving to competing in half a year. Because of you. Because of what you showed us we could become. No. Connor turned to face her. Because of what you already were. I just gave you the push. Humanity was always capable of this. You proved it when you held the line with rifles against mechs, when you evacuated civilians instead of running, when you chose to fight impossible odds because surrender wasn't in your vocabulary. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Kara's calm crackled to life. Lieutenant Bennett, report to combat operations. Unknown vessels, entering system, multiple signatures. Configuration matches Kryn hegemony. They're not responding to hails. The Kryn, one of the species that resented precursor favoritism. Militant. aggressive. They'd made their position clear through diplomatic channels. Inheritor races were abominations to be eliminated. Apparently, they were done talking. Connor and Kara sprinted to combat operations. Price was already there, coordinating defensive positions. 18 heavy cruisers, 52 support craft. They're forming attack formations, targeting our shipyards and the station. Our fleet? Kara asked. 8 frigates, 4 destroyers, the carrier Phoenix. We're outnumbered 3-1. Connor studied the tactical display. What's their position relative to the moon? Shaw brought up coordinates. Lunar orbit. High side. Why? Connor grabbed a pressure suit from the locker. Started putting it on. Because I can reach them from there. Get me a fast shuttle to lunar surface. Somewhere with clear line of sight to their formation. Price stared at him. You're planning to jump? That's 50,000 miles. Closer to 60 from the optimal launch point. I've been practicing. Connor sealed his helmet. I can make it. Get me there fast. Kara grabbed a second suit. I'm coming. You can't survive vacuum like I can. I can pilot better than you can. You need someone to get you there alive. Connor paused, then nodded. Let's move. They took the fastest shuttle available. Kara pushed the engines past safety limits. 20 minutes to reach the lunar surface. She brought them down on the rim of Copernicus crater, angled for maximum visibility of the Kryn formation. 62,000 miles, she said, checking sensors. Connor, this is insane, even for you. He stood at the airlock. Probably. But they're about to start shooting. Our fleet will take massive casualties in a straight fight. This gives us an advantage. What advantage? You'll be one man against 70 ships. Connor smiled through his helmet visor. Yeah, I feel bad for them. He opened the airlock, stepped out onto the lunar surface. The Kryn fleet hung in the black above him, weapons charging, preparing to unleash devastation on humanity's home. Connor crouched, felt the weak lunar gravity, calculated trajectory, velocity, margin for error. His enhanced muscles coiled with potential energy that could shatter stone. He jumped. The force of his launch cratered the lunar surface. Regolith exploded outward in a silent gray fountain. Connor rocketed into space at speeds that made ballistic missiles look slow. 62,000 miles. No air resistance in vacuum, just momentum and aim. He flew like a meteor, crossing the distance in 90 seconds. The Kryn sensors detected him far too late. By the time their targeting systems locked on, he'd already hit the first cruiser. His impact punched through the hull like tissue paper. He ricocheted inside, tearing through bulkheads, destroying critical systems, then burst out the other side, used the momentum to reach the next ship, grabbed onto the hull, ripped open an access panel, found the reactor controls, overloaded them, jumped clear as the cruiser exploded. The Kryn fleet descended into chaos, ships trying to track a single human moving between them faster than their weapons could traverse. Connor was a pinball of destruction, bouncing from hull to hull, leaving devastation in his wake. He grabbed a communications array off one ship, used it as a javelin to impale another, tore engines off a third, sent it spinning into a fourth. 14 ships down in 3 minutes. The remaining vessels tried to scatter. Connor wouldn't let them. He caught the slowest cruiser, planted his feet on the hull, grabbed the main weapon turret, and pulled. The entire turret assembly tore free. He threw it at a fleeing escort. Direct hit. Both ships disabled. By the time human frigates arrived to mop up, Connor had reduced the Kryn attack force to floating debris. He drifted in space among the wreckage, waiting for pickup. Kara brought the shuttle to him, opened the airlock. He climbed inside, helmet frosted with ice crystals, suit scorched from laser fire he'd mostly ignored. You just won a space battle, Kara said. By yourself. In vacuum. Connor removed his helmet. Set a precedent. Next species that wants to test us will think twice. Back on the station, Price watched the tactical display update. Enemy fleet destroyed. 0 human casualties. Complete victory achieved by one enhanced soldier and pure audacity. She activated the priority channel to Accord headquarters. Chiron appeared on screen. General Price, we monitored the engagement. Remarkable. The Kryn violated our sovereignty. They paid for it. Indeed. The Accord will file formal protests against the hegemony. But General, understand that this changes perceptions. Your enhanced soldiers are now proven in fleet combat. Other species will take notice. Good, Price said. Let them notice. Let them understand that Earth doesn't back down. We didn't claw our way to the top of our own planet's food chain just to kneel to aliens. We're here. We're strong. And we're not going anywhere. Chiron's metallic features shifted into what might have been a smile, spoken like a true inheritor race. Welcome to the galactic community, humanity. I suspect you'll reshape it before you're done. The connection ended. Price looked out at Earth below, at the ships under construction, at the station that would be the first of many, at a future that 6 months ago had seemed impossible. Connor appeared beside her, back in civilian clothes. What are you thinking? That we're going to be all right, that humanity finally has a fighting chance out here? Connor nodded. More than a chance. We're going to thrive. We're going to explore. We're going to meet species that become allies, and species that become enemies. We're going to make mistakes and achieve miracles. We're going to do what humans have always done. What's that? Connor looked up at the stars. Survive, adapt, overcome, and maybe, just maybe, become something greater than we ever imagined. Kara joined them. Behind her, other enhanced soldiers gathered. Shaw, Hughes, new faces, young and old, men and women who'd chosen to become more than human to protect humanity. They stood together, looking at Earth and stars, at past survival and future potential. Somewhere out in the galaxy, species watched and wondered what humanity would do next, some with hope, some with fear, all with respect, because they'd learned what the Zarathians and Kryn had learned the hard way. Humanity was done being prey, done being victims, done being underestimated. The age of human ascendance had begun, and